Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. I think it's fair to say that while I did try to weave some humour into them, my last two videos were rather bleak. Now, I'm nothing if not an optimist, so I decided to try and find some good news to make a video about. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a little bit difficult at the moment though, and I don't want to be accused of deliberately making things up. I'm not a Tory or Nigel Farage. Thankfully. I was just having a brew and pondering on the complexities of the subject when I suddenly thought, Lee Anderson, he's a complete and utter fucking bellend, isn't he? It's only been a few months since I made a video called 5 Reasons Lee Anderson is a Twat. The link will be in the end screen, but it seems like longer. And they say that laughter is the best medicine. It's hard not to laugh at Lee Anderson a lot of the time. He really is a complete and utter wet sponge with about as much intelligence as roadkill. So let's take a quick look at some of the stupid shit he's been saying and doing recently for a laugh, right after this. I was just looking at my channel analytics and I noticed that 53% of people who watch my videos weren't subscribed. The pain. Come on. Just have a quick check that you've subbed, liked and rang the bell. Make a skinny old scouser a little bit happier today. You know that bloke that stands outside Parliament protesting and waving signs and things all the time? Steve Bray. Yeah, the guy who played Things Can Only Get Better when Sunak came out to announce his election. That guy. 30p Lee had a little run-in with him once where he managed to prove that stupidity is definitely not a handicap in politics. He borrowed some Daily Mail headlines and he branded Steve as a benefit scrounger and said he looked like a tramp during a little exchange outside Parliament, giving us a beautifully clear view of the extreme prejudice that Lee has for actual homeless people who dare ask the government for help. He then pinched Steve's hat for a few moments because that's just hilarious, isn't it? Remember when there would be some kid that would do stuff like that at school? Some chunky little bully kid that would take the skinny kid's hat or take the short kid's bag or something and wave it around in the air where they couldn't get it. You know, have everybody laughing. Yeah. Remember those kind of kids? They'd think they were popular because they had everybody laughing, but then they'd be sitting on their own at dinner time in some room with a teacher because the teacher thought they were too much of a twat to let them out in the playground with the other kids. Yeah, I remember kids like that. He gave Steve his hat back when he realised he didn't have a group of giggling schoolboys around him anymore and remembered that he wasn't 12. But then he offered to have a fight with him, so, you know, can't educate the bully out of Lee, can you? He is, of course, a paragon of free speech and not at all a bit of a snowflake like he accuses his political opponents of being. And obviously he's not a hypocrite. He would never be a hypocrite, would he? You know. There was a time when Reform didn't have the leading light of their messiah, King Nigel the Froggy, and they felt a bit aggrieved that the BBC is so left-wing. Yeah, they put it about that Reform were going to boycott the BBC. From that point on, their strong moral foundations could not allow them to be mocked by those leftist bastards who worked for an organisation that supported the Tories for 14 years, actually told blatant lies and edited footage in order to make sure that Boris Johnson looked a bit less of a clown more than once, and has a fully paid up millionaire Tory donor as their head of broadcasting. Those evil leftist bastards. Well, Lee posted at the time saying, "As soon as Reform have sorted the borders, we're coming for you, BBC." Of course, 30p Lee was mocked relentlessly for this, as Reform have no actual policies in the waiting to do anything about the borders, and to think that they will ever get into a position of power with a total, utter short-for-brained cretins like him at the helm is hilarious in itself. Lee really was triggered by some people mocking him on Have I Got News For You as well, and he made his feelings very clear. Well, as clear as he's capable of making them anyway. But then something miraculous happened. King Nigel returned to take his rightful place as leader of reform and was subsequently asked onto Question Time. I think it was for the 36th or 37th time. Yeah. You may be aware of that Question Time is a BBC show. Suddenly Lee went very quiet about boycotting the BBC. Not a hypocrite though, no. Those of you who followed my channel for a while may remember me mentioning this once before, but it is worth recalling that Lee was once defeated in his indignational pride by some evil left-wing snigglers. Lee was fully in support of the Rwanda plan. Remember that thing where the Tories were pretending to do something about immigration by threatening people with a one-way trip to Rwanda? The plan that cost £750 million and came to absolutely nothing. That one. Yeah. Well, it was about that, and we won't go into it because it's all old and very boring and barren ground. But suffice to say, on the issue that particular day, Lee was supposed to go into the no lobby and vote against that day's bill. Unfortunately, his resolve and determination faltered though, and he just couldn't go through with it. Despite it being a free vote, he just couldn't bring himself to cast his no vote. What stopped him? Did he have a flash of clarity and come to the conclusion that he just should support his party after all? Did he linger in the doorway, pondering, deep in concentration, and let his heart and his mind guide his hand? Was it reflection that turned Lee back? What was it? Snigglers. Evil, left-wing, sniggling bastards. That's what it was. Apparently, there were a few Labour MPs in the doorway, and he saw them sniggling at him. When later asked why he'd been frightened away by some sniggling, Lee said, "There's no way I could support them above a party that's given me a political home." Loyal and laudable Lee later packed his bags and walked out on the party that had given him a political home and joined Reform UK instead. What a fucking joke of a man. Ever the patriot. On St George's Day, Lee posted a picture of himself on Twitter with his England flag cufflinks on and said, "Trigger warning. If you're a Guardian reading, avocado eating, Palestinian flag waving, Eddie Izzard supporting vegan, then this is probably not for your consumption. Happy St George's Day." Oh dear. We all knew Lee was a bit of a dunder-headed, clap-trapping tosspot at the best of times, but he's excelled himself here, hasn't he? Everybody is entitled to be stupid, but Lee's out there abusing the privilege. Those people that are waving those flags, Lee, you know, the Palestinian flags, I suspect they might know a little bit more about St George than you do. St George came from Palestine, you fucking Philistine. And why are these people so fucking obsessed with avocados? I kind of wish I knew Lee Anderson's address. I'd send him a year's subscription to The Guardian, a whole box of avocados and a signed picture of Eddie Izzard in a dress. Imagine his face when he opened the box. One of each of his brain cells would come flying out of his ears with rage, and a cloud of furious steam, wouldn't it? And the top of his head would fucking pop off. I think avocados are shit. I've never bought one for myself, but I tasted many of them when I was a chef and never met one that I liked. And I don't read The Guardian either. I love how these right-wing bellends, you know, hate foreigners and immigrants, but they always celebrate St George's Day. Sat there outside Wetherspoons with the little fucking flags waving. Patriot my arse. Dumb arse. Now obviously, 30p Lee is a big fan of Trump. Of course he fucking is. Trump's whole patter is designed to fool stupid and politically ignorant people into supporting him. And of course, because Trump is the most subjugated and corruptly contracted excuse for a US president ever, you have to expect Elon Mussolini to come as part of the package, don't you? I mean, the guy has paid literally billions to buy himself a proxy US presidency, and now he wants to play with his new toy. Trump's dementia-fueled megalomaniacal ramblings about Ukraine and Elon's week of illegally pillaging America's wealth has left a sour taste in the mouth of some of the most right-wing and twattiest people that pollute our land, though. It's becoming increasingly hard for any politicians to continue to back Trump and claim to be sane, normal, decent people, let alone patriots. So tensions are beginning to ramp up a little bit in parliamentary discourse. To this end, apparently a Tory whip had an unpleasant chat with Mr Anderson on Monday morning during parliamentary proceedings after a comment that led to Lee allegedly calling the Tory MP a cunt. The reply was, "What was that? I couldn't hear you with Elon's dick in your mouth." Not very parliamentary language, certainly, but something of a somewhat succinct and entertaining response, at least. I do wonder if the most interesting part of that story is that it was an exchange with a Tory MP. Could this be suggestive of further unbreachable rifts between the Tories and Reform? Or are all the Tories just nasty to Anderson now as a matter of principle because he crossed the floor? They're petty enough to be like that, aren't they? Especially the fucking Tories. Fuck the Tories. Ooh, that felt good. I haven't said that for a while. Fuck the Tories. Fucking bastards. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you've had a giggle with me. Or a sniggle. I don't mind either way. It can be very easy to get bogged down by the continual onslaught of events and their political implications that are coming at us 24 hours a day at the moment, can't it? The time zones don't help. We have the right-wing tabloids attacking Labour every morning. GBBs spewing out evil right-wing bullshit all day. And then while you're in bed, you've got that orange shit gibbon in America porking it up in the Oval Office, releasing more statements of propaganda and bullshit. It's like an ever-present siren song of unscrupulously ludicrous prejudice echoing through the heavens to the ears of the uneducated, isn't it? The Pied Piper of proper knobheads only stopping to empty their pockets of pennies before he watches them march into the sea in the gold sneakers and MAGA hats. Speaking of which, if you'd like to help the channel with some pennies, then links to PayPal, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee are presumptuously parading themselves in the descriptions box. And the join button for memberships, as always, is below. And it only remains for me to say that that isn't all I have to say. But it is as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say today. Ta-ra. Trump's dementia-fueled megalomaniacal ramblings. My fucking megalomaniacal ramblings. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why do we do this to myself? Why have I included a word like megalomaniacal in the script? You fucking idiot. Start again.